In the name of the Messiah, Yahweh, the Lamb, and then, of course, the name of the Father, first of all, highest of all, above all, Yahweh. We give praise and honor and glory to them. As we're going into his word, we're continuing to study in the prophecy of Isaiah. And last week, or the last time we talked about Isaiah, we were in Isaiah 36, and we were talking about always being tested, recall? Always being tested. Now, brothers and sisters, I want to ask you a quiz question. Are you ready? Testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Here's a quiz question from last week's study. What is the purpose of us always being tested? What is the primary purpose that Yah has in mind of us always being tested? What is his primary purpose in causing us always to have to go through tests? Because we're constantly going to be going through tests. We are going through tests. And they're going to continue to go through tests. Why? Why? Somebody say, why does he do that? Why is he doing it? Why is he constantly putting us in positions where our faith and our trust in him is tested? That's right. That's right. To build our faith. That's exactly right. To draw near to him and to learn to trust our God. To learn to trust our God. Now, brothers and sisters, if you ever had somebody tell you that they loved you and you knew it was just a statement of words that didn't really mean anything, that they didn't really mean it. You ever had that happen? Somebody say they love you and they didn't really mean it. They just said the words. It's almost like the words were cheap because there was no feeling behind it. There was no real commitment behind it. It was just empty words. Well, brothers and sisters, when we talk about trusting in the Most High, it's got to be more than just empty words. It's got to be more than just empty words. There's got to be a commitment behind it. There's got to be a commitment behind it. There's got to be a force of an earnest desire behind our trust in the Most High. This is something that's developed by him in us through the various tests that he gives us. Now, the good news. Once we are developed and we're used to trusting the Most High, okay, then we will, that's what I'm looking for. We will observe, we will see, we will experience Yah fighting for us. See that? We will observe, we will see, we will experience Yah fighting for us. Okay? And brothers and sisters, if the Creator is fighting for you, guess what? You will not lose. You will not lose if the Creator is fighting for you. So he builds us up, he puts us in situations where we have to learn to trust him. And then when we get to the point where we do trust him on the real, it's not just words, but we're really showing faith in him, and we're really putting our hopes and expectations in the invisible God. He will fight for you. He will fight for you. And brothers and sisters, let me show you that. I have been looking at Joshua. The book of Joshua is really an inspirational book. It's really inspirational because what the book of Joshua shows is the nation of Israel conquering the land and conquering the enemies of Yah. And it really shows him fighting for them. As a matter of fact, let's start at chapter 10 of Joshua. Joshua chapter 10. Joshua chapter 10. And at this point, during the course of the book of Joshua, they're already in the promised land. They're already now taking the promised land. And I just want to stress before we get started in this, in terms of the promised land. Now, I want to definitely put a difference between the true Israelites and our God and the rest of the folks and their gods. Now, especially in this particular scenario, when we're looking at Joshua, Islam spread throughout the then known world on the point of a sword. Islam spread through the then known world. What we know now is North Africa, East Africa, the Middle East, even some of West Africa with the Mali kingdom and the Ashanti kingdom and Timbuktu. It spread on the edge of the sword. What do I mean by that? It means like there was crusades, there was raiders that would ride horses into lands and snatch up the women and children and take people as slaves unless they converted to Islam. I know they like to say it's a religion of peace, but it did not spread throughout the earth in a peaceful manner. It spread throughout the earth very similarly to how Christianity spread throughout the earth. The Catholic Church spread Christianity throughout the earth by force, by what they call crusades. That's how they spread Christianity. And that's exactly how Islam spread throughout the earth. And that's why at some point there was a conflict, there was a collision between Islam and Christianity. That collision resulted in what became the Ottoman Empire. Because Islam was spreading and it has spread throughout, and to this day we see the footprints. But they came into other people's lands, and no matter what you was worshiping, they would force you to worship their God. And if you didn't, you would die. What we're looking at in Joshua is completely different. And if somebody's not paying attention, they might think it's the same, but it is not the same. And before we continue, I want to make sure we're clear why it's not the same. Okay, why it's not the same. So if somebody was to ask you, well, Israel did that, Islam is only doing what Israel did, that's not true. That's not true. Can you hear me? Testing 1, 2, 3. I want to make sure you understand. We're going to show you from the word. That's not true. That's a lie. Two different scenarios. Okay, and just before we go into Joshua 10, let me just give you the backdrop. It starts in Genesis. Let's take a look. Genesis. Let's see. Genesis, I believe I'm looking for chapter 18. No, not chapter 18. That's before that even. I think it's chapter 15. Genesis chapter 15. Yes, Genesis chapter 15. Let's start there because this is where the eventual conquering of the land of Canaan came. This is where the eventual conquering of the whole earth by the Israelite nation will come. Okay, and it's different than what the Islamic people did under Muhammad when they forced everybody to become Islamic. That didn't become Islamic, they were killed. It's a different thing. Okay, first let's take a look. Genesis chapter 15. So this is the promise to Abraham, who later became Abraham, from the Most High Yah. In the Genesis chapter 15, we're going to begin at verse, I'm going to start at verse 12. I'm going to start at verse 12 and go down to verse 16. Genesis chapter 15 from verse 12 to verse 16 is completely different than what the Islamic people did and are doing even now. Notice what it says. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. Now, pay attention now. I don't want y'all to forget this because people are going to come at you with this, and you got to be prepared to answer. You got to be prepared to give an answer, okay? You got to be prepared to give an answer as to why the Israelite movement is different than the Islamic movement and the Christian movement, okay? And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Also, that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace, and thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. That last statement is significant. The iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. In other words, the Amorites were committing heinous iniquity. And Yah was giving them 400 more years until their cup of iniquity was full. Not only that, we look back in Genesis chapter 9, of course, Genesis chapter 9. Genesis chapter 9. And we know something happened with Noah and his son Ham. And when Noah awoke from his wine, Genesis chapter 9 from verse 24 down to verse 27. Genesis chapter 9 from 24 to 27. Notice what it says. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. And he said, cursed be Canaan. Cursed be who? Not Ham, not Shem, Canaan. Cursed be Canaan. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Most High Yahweh of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. Yah shall enlarge Japheth, and he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So Canaan's land was already ordained to be given to Shem. Japheth was going to try to take, when it says that he shall dwell in the tents of Shem, it means he's going to try to take Shem's place. Japheth going to try to take the place of the Shemite and take over Canaan. I think we can see that happen. So let's look at what we've seen already. The iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. The land was promised to Abraham's seed. Abraham is a Shemite, a Hebrew. Canaan's land was promised. Why? Because their iniquity was not yet full. What was their iniquity? Let's take a look. What was the iniquity of the land of Canaan that caused the Most High to say, I am giving this land, just this land, to the children of Abraham? I'm giving this land to the children of Abraham. Why did he do that? Leviticus chapter 18. Pay attention, brothers and sisters, because people are going to come at you with this, especially as we study what we're studying tonight, when you're going to see some things that look very similar to what the Islamic people did, but it's completely different. And I'm showing you why. First of all, the takeover is limited to the land of Canaan. Whereas in Islam, they took over everybody else's land. They went into Egypt. They went into Ethiopia. They went into Sudan. They went into Libya. They went into Morocco. They went into Niger. They went into Mali. They went into Ghana. They went into Nigeria. And they were killing everybody that wasn't getting converted. They went into Asia Minor, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. And they were killing everybody that wouldn't convert. Killing them. Ain't nobody told him to go on all them. The Most High ain't told him to do that. He's only talking about one parcel of land. And there's a reason he's talking about one parcel of land. Leviticus chapter 18. This is key right here. Leviticus chapter 18 is key. I need y'all to pay close attention to this, because this is why the land of Canaan was given over. This gives you also an idea of what kind of person Canaan might have been like for the curse to come upon him, because these are his children. The land of Canaan are his children. And you're going to see what they were doing. Okay? Let's take a look. Leviticus chapter 18. We're going to read this whole chapter, Isha, but we're going to do it in pieces, okay? We're going to do it in pieces. So let's start Leviticus chapter 18. Let's go from verse 1 down to verse 7. Leviticus chapter 18 from verse 1 to 7. Let's read through this. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel and say unto them, Ahia Yahweh your Most High. After the doings of the land of Egypt wherein ye dwelt, ye shall not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I bring you, ye shall not do. Neither shall ye walk in their ordinances. Ye shall do my judgments and keep mine ordinances to walk therein. Ahia Yahweh your Most High. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, which if a man do, he shall live in them. Ahia Yahweh. None of you shall approach to any that is near kin to him to uncover their nakedness. Ahia Yahweh. Nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother, thou shalt not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. You're getting an idea of what they were doing in the land of Canaan. He's going to break it down to you very plainly. Let's go from verse 8, down to verse 14. From verse 8 down to verse 14. This is why he told them, take this land and destroy everything that's on it. This is why. We're reading it right here. The nakedness of thy father's wife thou shalt not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or the daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter, or of thy daughter's daughter, even their nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for theirs is thine own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife's daughter, begotten of thy father, she is thy sister. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister. She is thy father's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kinswoman. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's brother. Thou shalt not approach to his wife. She is thine aunt. They were having relations, sexual relations, with all of these forbidden situations, mothers with sons, and incestuous relationship, and grown men with little children, and with their daughters-in-law, and daughters-in-law with their fathers-in-law, and daughters-in-law with their mothers-in-law. They were having all of these types of relationships in the land of Canaan. He said, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. I'm going to give your people this land, Abraham, but I'm waiting until their iniquity is full. When they cup runneth over, it's over. By the way, before we continue, do any of these things happen in the United States of America? Are any of these things happening in this land? And if he said, I'm giving you the land of Canaan because of this, do you suppose other nations might be in trouble for the same reason? We're going to talk more about that. But let's continue. Leviticus chapter 18 from verse 15 down to verse 23. Leviticus chapter 18 from verse 15 to verse 23. Notice, this is why he said, kill them all, take their land. This is why. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter-in-law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter. Neither shalt thou take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness, for they are her near kinswoman. It is wickedness. Neither shalt thou take a wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness beside the other in her lifetime. In other words, if your wife got a sister, don't leave your wife and marry her sister while your wife is alive. If your wife died, you can marry the sister, but not while the two are alive. Don't you remember Leah and Rachel and the issues? He don't want those issues. Okay? Thou shalt not approach unto a woman to uncover her nakedness as long as she had put apart for her uncleanness. If she's bleeding, if it's her period, don't have sex with her. It's nasty. Don't do it. It's one of the reasons he cast them people out. But wait, there's more. Moreover, thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. Thou shalt not let any of the seed of thy seed pass through the fire to Molech. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy Most High, Ahia Yahweh. Thou shalt not lie with mankind. Wait a minute. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is abomination. Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion. They did all these things in the land. They did all of these things in the land. And that's what, and with what Noah prophesied about, and then what was told to Abraham in terms of the iniquity of the people of that land, that's why that land was targeted by the Most High for takeover by Abraham's seed. Y'all got it? Testing 1, 2, 3. We're not finished yet. Y'all got it? Testing 1, 2, 3. That's why that land, he didn't say go take over Egypt. He told him, don't take over Egypt. He didn't even let him take over the Edomite land. He didn't even let him take over the Ammonite land or the Moabite land. They didn't take that land. He said, go into Canaan, take that land. They ended up taking Heshbon and Og and them because they came out against them, but he didn't tell them to go into Somalia and take their land, or go to Cush and take their land. He didn't tell them to do that. It was just this one land. Y'all got that? See that? That's the difference. That's the difference. See? Again, it was his chosen people, a bloodline. Put it this way, brothers and sisters, all the people of Israel, when they came out of Egypt, the 12 tribes, right? Did not all of them come from one man, Abraham? Wait, aren't they all the children of Abraham? I mean, by blood? By blood? Are they not all Jacob's children by blood? So they are all related, and they came out as a family, a nation that's a family, and they took the land that was given to them because of the iniquity. You understand? Okay, this was by promise. Again, Leviticus. Let's finish this. He's gonna make it even more plainer. Leviticus chapter 18. By the way, in terms of having sex with animals, we know people do that. Gerbils and goats and sheep. Do you know they found that people in ancient times in Europe, actually had sex with animals to the point where they found skeletal remains and they thought it was a monkey. They found it in Europe and they thought it was a monkey. They later named it. You know what they named it? Have you ever heard of Neanderthal? Have you ever heard of Neanderthal? Do you know where they got that from? Why do you think Darwin comes up with his theory of creation, and he says we were monkeys? Why do you think he come up with that? Because they used to have sex with animals, and they created what's called Neanderthal. Yes, they did. In Europe. Anyway, let's continue. Leviticus chapter 18. Watch especially verse 24 and 25. Here we go. Leviticus 18, 24 and 25. Defile not, listen carefully now. Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you, and the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquity thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out the inhabitants. You see? So because of the things that they were doing, he said, I am going to kick them out the land. The land is vomiting them out. Okay? You combine these facts with the fact that what the Most High said in Deuteronomy through Moses when he said his eye is always on that land. He said all year, my eye is always on that land. That's what he said. My eye is always on that land. So you combine that with what was going on that land. It's a special land, and he's decided he wants that for his chosen people, that land. And now we know Edomites, who are really sons of Japhet that are taking the Edomite religion, Judaism, are on the land, trying to take the place of the Semites. Remember, they shall dwell in the tents of Shem. And we already know what Messiah said he's going to do about that. Okay, we already know. But let's continue. Leviticus chapter 18. See, that's what I'm saying. This is completely different than Islam running all over the world, killing everybody that don't convert to Islam. They weren't trying to convert these people anyway. They weren't trying to convert them. They were destroying them off the land. There was no conversion in the land of Canaan. They were not looking for that. They were looking to cleanse the land. They said the land is defiled. It vomited them out. Let's continue. Leviticus chapter 18 from verse 26. Watch now, verse 26 down to verse 30. Watch very carefully. Watch very carefully. Thank you. You should watch very carefully, brothers and sisters. Watch. Ye shall therefore keep my statutes and my judgments, and shall not commit any of these abominations, neither any of your own nation, watch, nor any stranger that sojourneth among you. So you're going to dwell in Israel, you got to hang with our laws and statutes and commandments. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Any nation you go in now, you got to abide by their laws. Israel is no different. So he said, when I give you this land, you're going to keep my laws, my statutes, my commandments, and the strangers that want to dwell with you in the land, they got to keep it too. But these are not Canaanites. He's going to destroy all them. Okay? For all these abominations have the men of the land done, which were before you, and the land is defiled. The second time he said that. That the land spew not you out also when ye defile it, as it spewed out the nations that were before you. For whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinance, that ye commit not any of these abominable customs, which were committed before you, that ye defile not yourselves therein. Ahaya Yahweh, your Most High. You see the difference, brothers and sisters? When they called them Mohammedans at first, Mohammedans. They didn't always call them Islamic. They called them Mohammedans in the early part of their movement in the 8th century, 7th century when they started moving. And so, brothers and sisters, they were spreading this myth all over the Middle East, all over North and East Africa. They were going all over the place, and whoever did not convert was being killed. You were forced to convert. This is different. This is a cleansing of the land that was defiled because of the sins of the men on the land. You see the difference? Testing 1, 2, 3. You see the difference? It's a completely different situation. So now, when Joshua is being told to go in that land and destroy everything, these are the reasons he's being told to do it. That's why he's being told to do it. Okay? He said, they told him, don't have no mercy on none of them, because he gave them more than 400 years. He gave them more than 400 years. And they just got worse and worse and worse. He said, okay, I'm sending my people in there. I'm sending my bloodline people, the children of my servant Abraham. Okay? Now, pay close attention now. We're going to come back to this later. Okay, Joshua chapter 10. Joshua chapter 10. Joshua chapter 10. I'm going to go from verse 7. I'm going to go from verse 7 down to verse 14. Joshua chapter 10 from verse 7 to verse 14. Notice what it says. Joshua chapter 10 from 7 to 14. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And Yahweh said unto Joshua, fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly and went up from Gilgal all night, and Yahweh discomfited them before Israel and slew them with great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth Aron, and smote them at Azkah and at Makkedah. And it came to pass as they fled from before Israel and were going down to Beth Aron, that Yahweh cast down great stone. Wait. Yahweh cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Azekah, and they died. They were more which died with hailstones than they which the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then spake Joshua to Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel, and he said in the sight of Israel, sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that Yahweh hearkened to the voice of a man. For Yahweh fought for Israel. Did you catch that last part? Joshua chapter, I'm sorry, did I say Leviticus? I meant Joshua chapter 10 from verse 7 to 14, Isha. Joshua chapter 10 from verse 7 to 14. Did I say Leviticus? If I said Leviticus, my mistake. It's Joshua chapter 10 from verse 7 to 14. Anyway, verse 14. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that Yahweh hearkened unto the voice of a man. For the point is, Yahweh fought for Israel. Let's continue in Joshua chapter 10. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to go down. Let's see. I'm going to go down to verse 40. From verse 40 to verse 43, Joshua chapter 10, from verse 40 to 43. Joshua chapter 10, 40 to 43. Notice again. So Joshua smote all the country of the hills and of the south and of the vale and of the springs and all their kings. He left none remaining. But utterly destroyed all that breathed, as Yahweh Most High of Israel commanded. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea even unto Gaza, all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon. And all these kings and their land did Joshua take at one time, because Yahweh Most High of Israel fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal. Once you learn to trust your God. Now, it took our fathers 40 years. Listen, it took them 40 years to learn to trust our God. It took them 40 years. We don't have 40 years. But I want you to notice what happens when you trust him, when you trust his word, when you trust his spirit, when you obedient to his commandments. Notice what happens. It says, for Yahweh, Most High of Israel, fought for Israel. He fought for Israel. Okay? And listen, y'all who are getting older like myself, age don't matter. When we're living in the time, see, brothers and sisters, listen, over the last approximately 25 years, 30 years, we have seen the beginnings of the awakening that's now taking place. Okay, we started seeing it about 25, 30 years ago. I mean, people have been mentioning it for longer than that, but we're really starting to see it in major cities at first, and then now it's spread all over the earth. People are awakening. It's begun. It's on now. When I say awakening, it's of course what we have mentioned many times in the scripture in terms of the true Israelite people, the bloodline of Abraham, the so-called black man is awakening as to who he really is. He's awakening to understand he is Abraham's seed. See, we're at the point right now, even that we don't like at first, 30 years ago, people would want to argue with us and we have to prove it from scriptures and stuff. We way past that now. There's not even a question anymore. We know who we are. All right. We don't have to argue. If people don't want to believe it, that's their business. We already know who we are now. Now it's the development of the character and spirit of righteousness. And again, this is what we talk about when we're dealing with justification by faith. Now it's the development of a character of perfect righteousness that comes from the Father through Messiah. Because once we have that type of spirit on us and it becomes a part of us, in fact, the Bible says we are sealed the law among my disciples. Once we are sealed by the Spirit of the Father, he's going to fight for us. Did you see what we just read? It said the hailstones killed more the Amorites than the Israelites did because y'all fought for Israel. Y'all saw that, right? We just read it. The hailstones killed more of them than the swords did because y'all fought for Israel. Watch this. We got to stop by my man Caleb. We in Joshua. We in the neighborhood. We got to talk about Caleb. We can't talk about Joshua and the takeover without Caleb. So watch. And I want to just give you a little quick background. Caleb was from the tribe of Judah. Judah was coming. The main part of Judah was Jerusalem. It was the hardest part because it was up in a mountain and it was fenced. And it was one of them places that got the children of Israel scared, right? It got them scared because there were giants up there. The Jebusites were up there. And it was defensed, and they were like, we can't take that. They got it locked down. Not Caleb. Caleb had another spirit. Joshua chapter 14. Joshua chapter 14. I'm gonna start at verse 6. And go down to verse 13. I'm going to start at verse 6 and go down to verse 13. Joshua chapter 14, from verse 6 to verse 13. Notice what it says. Then the children of Judah came unto Joshua. The children of Judah came unto Joshua in Gilgal. And Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said unto him, Thou knowest the thing that Yahweh said unto Moses, the man of Yah, concerning me and thee in Kadesh Barnea. 40 years old was I when Moses, the servant of Yahweh, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to espy out the land. And I brought him word again, as it was in mine heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt. But I wholly followed Yahweh, my Most High. And Moses sware on that day, saying, Surely the land that thy feet have trodden shall be thine inheritance, and thy children's forever, because thou hast wholly followed Yahweh, my Most High. And now, behold, Yahweh hath kept me alive. This is Caleb talking. And he said, and now, behold, Yahweh hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years. It was 45 years later, Caleb come to Joshua with this proposal. 45 years prior, he had went into the promised land with the 11 other spies, and Joshua came back with a good report, and the other 10 came back with some garbage. 45 years. So he's 85 now. And he comes to Joshua with this proposal. He's 85 years old. Okay, watch. Okay. Verse 10. And now, behold, Yahweh hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years. Even since Yahweh spake this word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, lo, I am this day 85 years old. As yet, I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now, for war, both to go out and to come in. Now, therefore, give me the mountain whereof Yahweh spake in that day, for thou heardest in that day how the Anakim were there, and that the cities were great and fenced. If so be Yahweh will be with me, then I will be able to drive them out, as Yahweh said. And Joshua blessed him and gave Caleb, the son of Jephunneh, Hebron for an inheritance. That's a bad boy right there. That's a bad boy right there. 85 years old. He said, all I need is your permission, and I'm gone. Woo, man, I'm trying to tell you, it ain't got nothing to do with how old you are. It's got to do with your faith. It's got to do with how much do you trust your God. That's what we're talking about. How much do you trust your God? Do you trust him? Because if you learn to trust him, he's going to fight for you. If you learn to trust him, he's going to fight for you. Okay, wait. Then let's take a look. We've seen this other scripture before. Watch this. Second Chronicles chapter 20. You remember this one? Second Chronicles chapter 20, when the Israelites were in Jerusalem, and here come Edom, Moab, and the children of Ammon at them. You remember that? And you remember what the Most High's prophet rose up. And by the way, let me tell you something. As the Most High sends his spirit on us, he's going to raise up people among us that's going to speak words of inspiration and cause us to be strong. We're also going to look to the prophets of the word, and we're going to rejoice in those words like we're doing tonight. And we're going to learn to trust our God, and we're going to be strong. Brothers and sisters, I have to go through much to enter into Yah's kingdom. It's not going to be easy, but it's not supposed to be. Since when is something worthwhile easy, right? Anything, even in this earth, if it's worthwhile, it's not easy. If it's easy, anybody. Okay? He's not looking for people with super sharp skills, martial arts skills, gun skills. No, he's looking for people with super powerful faith. He's looking for people with super powerful righteousness. That's what he's looking for. If he get them, No matter how old you are, no matter where you are, he's going to fight for you. Remember now, 2 Chronicles chapter 20, 2 Chronicles chapter 20, from verse 17. This is the prophet. What was his name? What was his name? Wait. Yahaziel. Yeah, Yahaziel stood up and he started speaking. The Spirit of the Most High came on him. Matter of fact, let me start right there. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, from verse 14 down to verse 17. Actually, from verse 14 down to verse 18. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, from verse 14 down to verse 18. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, from verse 14 down to verse 18. Notice what it says. Then upon Yahaziel, the son of Zechariah, the son of Banayah, the son of Yaal, the son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the sons of Asaph, came the Spirit of Yahweh in the midst of the congregation. The Spirit of Yahweh in the midst of the congregation. And he said, hearken ye all Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem, and thou, King Jehoshaphat, thus saith Yahweh unto you, be not afraid nor dismayed by reason of this great multitude, for the battle is not yours, but Yah's. Tomorrow go ye down against them. Behold, they come up by the cliff of Ziz, and ye shall find them at the end of the brook before the wilderness of Jeruel. Ye shall not need to fight in this battle. Set yourselves, stand ye still, and see the salvation of Yahweh with you, O Judah and Jerusalem. Fear not, nor be dismayed. Tomorrow go out against them, for Yahweh will be with you. And Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground. And all Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell before Yahweh, worshiping Yahweh. Oh, yes. Yes, brothers and sisters. Also in this same scripture, let's go down to verse 20. Let's go down to verse 20, 2 Chronicles chapter 20 and verse 20. 2 Chronicles chapter 20 and verse 20. Notice what it says. And they rose early in the morning and went forth into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went forth, Jehoshaphat stood and said, hear me, O Judah, and ye inhabitants of Jerusalem. Watch this. Watch his command. Believe in Yahweh your Most High, so shall ye be established. Believe his prophets, so shall ye prosper. Yes. Believe in him. Trust in him. You're going to be established. Believe his prophets. We have 40 witnesses in the Bible, 40 prophets in the Bible that are witnesses. There's no situation that you and I are going to ever come up against that has not already been written in this book. There's no situation that you and I are ever going to come up against that's not already been written in this book. Already there. Okay? Already there. We are being prepared. The awakening is underway. And now the Spirit of Yah is being poured out on his servants, and he's preparing us. He's preparing us so that we can trust him to the point where he'll fight for us. Yah is going to fight for us. You see, brothers and sisters, we talked the other night about prophecy being against a person, right? Like we talked about our brothers before us, how Malcolm X and Stokely Carmichael and Eldridge Cleaver and Huey Newton and Fred Hampton and Martin Luther King and when they all were trying to fight for their people and Khalid Abdul-Muhammad, and they all failed in their mission. They all were martyrs. May they be blessed. But they failed because prophecy was against them. Though they rose up among us and inspired us, the movements they were making were not in harmony with the plan. Listen, it was not in harmony with the plan that our Father gave to us in his word. But this awakening is. This awakening is. The sealing of righteousness upon us is according to Father's plan. That is in harmony with prophecy. And that's why we must continually be tested. Okay? We must continually be tested. Now, with that in mind, We go to Isaiah chapter 37. So we were in Isaiah 36, right? We were in Isaiah 36. And you recall in Isaiah 36 how there was a threat. There was a threat against Israel by the Assyrian army. Talking big mess. Had our fathers hemmed in, locked in the city, threatening to have them starve to death, and we're going to try to attack the city. Okay? And Isaiah the prophet stood up and gave the word that the Most High was going to deliver his people. And you remember what we just read. It said, believe in Yahweh, so shall ye be established. Believe his prophets, so shall ye prosper. Yeah? So that is what they were going to do. See? And so therefore, according to what we've already studied, if we're believing the prophets of Yah, if we're trusting him, what is he going to do? He's going to fight for us. Right? What is he going to do? He's going to fight for us. Got that? All right? So we can expect to see that in chapter 37. Okay? Chapter 37. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to start in chapter 37 at verse 1. Let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go down to verse 10 just to get us started here. From verse 1 to 10, this is a pretty long chapter, not too bad. From verse 1 to 10, this is Isaiah chapter 37, from verse 1 to verse 10. Okay, now this is after, so Rabshakeh left, said he was going to come back. He heard something happen somewhere, he had to go, but he said to them, I'm coming back, and when I come back, y'all better be ready to surrender, right? Okay, here we go. And it came to pass when Hezekiah heard it that he rent his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of Yahweh. And he sent Eliakim, who was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and the elders of the priests covered with sackcloth unto Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amos. And they said unto him, thus saith Hezekiah, this is a day of trouble and of rebuke and of blasphemy, for the children are come to the birth, and there is not strength to bring forth. It may be that Yahweh thy Most High will hear the words of Rabshakeh, whom the king of Assyria, his master, has sent to reproach the living God, and will reprove the words which Yahweh my Most High hath heard. Wherefore lift up thy prayer for the remnant that is left. The remnant that is left. So the servants of the king Hezekiah came to Isaiah, and Isaiah said unto them, thus shall ye say unto your master, thus saith Yahweh, be not afraid of the words thou hast heard, wherewith the servants of the king of Assyria have blasphemed me. Behold, I will send a blast upon him, and he shall hear a rumor and return to his own land, and I will cause him to fall by the sword in his own land. So Rabshakeh returned and found the king of Assyria warring against Libnah, for he had heard that he was departed from Lachish. And he heard say concerning Turkah, king of Ethiopia, he has come forth to make war with thee. And when he heard it, he sent messages to Hezekiah, saying, thus shall ye speak to Hezekiah, the king of Judah, saying, let not thy God, in whom thou trustest, deceive thee, saying, Jerusalem shall not be driven into the hand of the king of Assyria. One more verse, verse 11. Behold, thou hast heard what the king of Assyria have done to all the lands by destroying them utterly, and thou shalt be delivered. So this guy he's been destroying all other lands. He's been pretty successful apparently, but he's hearing some skirmishes, just like Isaiah said, you're gonna hear a rumor, and he left, but he said, I'm coming back, and don't let your, this trust in your God, Yah, deceive you. Brothers and sisters, let me tell you right now, I know I'm telling y'all, but you know what? It's like I'm just praying. We just need to pray, but we just need to pray. Because I want to tell you right now, it's gonna look bad for us. It's gonna look bad for us. And they're gonna be saying, who is this Yah that you guys are trusting in? Don't you see everything's against you? You're going to be kicked out of your houses in a few hours. You're not going to have any food. You're going to be in the wilderness. You're not going to have anything. No friends. Nobody's going to help you. What are you doing? I can hear it now. It's coming, brothers and sisters. And if we have not learned by then to put our complete trust, our whole soul salvation in the hands of the Spirit of the Father, not going to make it. Not going to make it. See, brothers and sisters, it's a little different for us than here. Why did I say it's different? It's a little different for us because they're in the land. They're in Jerusalem. Solomon's temple was still standing. That's where Hezekiah went. He went to the temple. He went to Solomon's temple where Yah said, my name is there. But you and me, we're not in the land. You and me are scattered throughout the earth. We're in our enemy's land. We're our enemy's land. And we got to learn to trust our God in our enemy's land. See, they were not behind enemy lines. We are. You understand why it's going to take a lot more from us? It's going to take a lot more from us. We're behind enemy lines. They weren't. See? But watch. This is, again, the Bible says these things are written for our examples, upon whom the ends of the earth shall come. That's you and me. So let's take a look. Isaiah chapter 37. Again, let's start at verse 12. Again, Rapture K talking mess. Let's start at verse 12. Go down to verse 20. Hezekiah going to pray to the Most High. The leader is going to pray to the Most High on behalf of the people. Notice again. Have the gods of the nations delivered them, which my fathers have destroyed, as Gozan and Aran and Razeph, and the children of Eden, which are in Telassar? Where is the king of Hamath, and the king of Arphat, and the king of the city of the Sephar Vaim, and Hena, and Eva? And Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And Hezekiah went up into the house of Yahweh and spread it before Yahweh. He spread that letter of all that mess Rabshakeh was talking before the Most High. And Hezekiah prayed unto Yahweh, saying, O Yahweh of hosts, the Most High of Israel, that dwellest between the cherubims, thou art the Most High, even thou alone. Of all the kings of the earth, thou hast made heaven and earth. Incline thine ear, O Yahweh, and hear. Open thine eyes, O Yahweh, and see, and hear all the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to reproach the living Most High. Of a truth, Yah, the kings of Assyria have laid waste all nations in their countries, and have cast their gods into the fire, for they were no gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore have they destroyed them. Now, therefore, O Yahweh, our Most High, save us from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that thou art the Most High, even thou alone. This is the key, brothers and sisters, also. When we're trusting the Most High, we're trusting him so that he can get the glory. See, he said, why should they be saved? This is why, so that all the nations might know Yahweh, even thou only. See, and again, when we live for Yahweh on this earth, or when we get baptized, into Messiah, as the Bible tells us, when we get baptized into Messiah, people get it twisted because of Christianity, but when we get baptized into Messiah, what we are actually saying is not only do we repent of our lifestyle, our life, we're saying from this point on, we want to live our life for Yah's glory and not ours. I want to say that again. When we get baptized, what we are saying is we want to not only repent of our sin, but we want to live our life for Yah's glory and not ours. That's a big thing. Because as you know very well, the people of this earth, most of us, live life for our own glory. We live life for our own glory. What we want is the thing that's important. But when we live for the Most High Yah, it's about his righteousness. It's about his glory. It's about how can he get glory. And that's what Hezekiah prayed. He said, yeah, they destroyed all these other nations and their gods, but they weren't gods. They weren't you. And he said, because we should let them know, you should deliver us to let them know that you're the only true God. YAH. You're the only true one. And brothers and sisters, that's the way it is for you and me. We get tried, we get tested so that he can fight for us. And when he's fighting for us, guess what? He's going to get the glory. In many places, he said, and the heathen shall know YAH, Yahweh. And the heathen shall know YAH, Yahweh. Let's continue. Isaiah chapter 37. Then Isaiah, this prophet, at the time Hezekiah is saying this prayer, Isaiah is somewhere else, and the Spirit of the Most High comes on him, and Isaiah begins to speak the words of the Most High from the spirit of inspiration that Yah gave him. And let's read them. Isaiah chapter 37 from verse 21. From verse 21, let's see. Yes. From verse 21 to verse 29. From verse 21 to verse 29. Notice what it says here. Isaiah chapter 37 from verse 21 to verse 29. Then Isaiah, the son of Amos, sent unto Hezekiah, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, Most High of Israel, whereas thou hast prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria, this is the word which Yahweh has spoken concerning him. Watch this. The virgin, the daughter of Zion, hath despised thee and laughed thee to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem hath shaken her head at thee. Whom hast thou reproached and blasphemed? And against whom hast thou exalted thy voice and lifted up thine eyes on high? Even against the set apart one of Israel. Remember now, Isaiah wasn't in the room when Hezekiah was praying. The Spirit of the Most High showed Isaiah Hezekiah was praying and gave Isaiah an answer for Hezekiah. Praise the Most High. This is all spiritual work right here. Powerful. By thy servants thou hast reproached the master, and has said, by the multitude of my chariots am I come up to the height of the mountains, to the sides of Lebanon, and I will cut down the tall cedars thereof and the choice fir trees thereof, and I will enter into the height of his border and the forest of his Carmel. I have digged and drunk water with the sole of my feet. Have I dried up all the rivers of the besieged places? Hast thou not heard long ago how I have done it, and of ancient times that I have formed it? Now have I brought it to pass that thou shouldest be to lay waste defense cities into ruinous heaps. Therefore, their inhabitants were of small power. They were dismayed and confounded. They were as the grass of the field, and as the green herb, as the grass on the mountains, on the housetops, and as corn blasted before it be grown up. But I know thy abode, and thy going out, and thy coming in, and thy rage against me. Because thy rage against me, thy tumult is come up into mine ears. Therefore will I put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back by the way which thou camest. Yes, now we've heard that type of phraseology before, when he says, "I'm gonna put my hook in your nose." He says that to somebody else. Do y'all remember? He says to some other people, he said, "I'll put my hook in your nose, and I'm gonna turn you back." He said Leviathan. Who else? That's right. He did. Who else? He did say Leviathan. Who else? Did he not say it to Gog and Magog? Didn't he say it to Gog and Magog? Let's see. Here it is. Gog and Magog. Ezekiel chapter 38. We're going to come right back to Isaiah. Ezekiel chapter 38. He said it to Gog and Magog, which we already know prophecies against them. Correct? Prophecies against them, because this is what he's speaking. Ezekiel chapter 38. We're going to come right back to Isaiah. Ezekiel chapter 38 from verses 1. Actually, from verse 1 to 4. He says the same thing to Gog and Magog. Notice again. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Most High Yahweh, Behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. See, there it is. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And I will bring thee forth and all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. So I'm going to put my hook in your jaws and bring you forth. Yeah, prophecy is against them. Prophecy is against them. So he says the same thing here. So again, when Yah's people learn to put their complete trust in their God, and they are assured that, in their heart that he's going to be with them, he's delivering them, he's guiding them for his own glory, he's going to fight for us. See, that's why we don't worry about all of these things you hear in the news. Please stop getting tripping out about what you hear in the news. The news is in this book. The real news is in the Bible. That's where the news is. Stop tripping out about what you're hearing on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS. Stop tripping. The real news is in here. If we learn to trust these words, we know that Yah is going to fight for us. And when he starts to fight for us, we see what happened in Joshua. You see what happened? Let's continue. Isaiah chapter 37. Back to Isaiah 37. Notice he said that Sennacherib had rage against him. And again, remember what he said. The heathen raged. Remember that? And the seventh trumpet, and the nations were angry. Brothers and sisters, we can already see what's coming. As we continue to put our faith in Yah, those that won't will be angry. They're going to get more and more angry, and they're going to have more and more rage against us, because that rage is representing Asatan. Okay? And even it said, and the dragon was wroth with the woman. That word wroth is enraged, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of Yah and have the testimony of the Messiah, Yahushua. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Don't be afraid when they rage. Doesn't matter when they rage. They rage doesn't do anything for or against us. Our trust must be in our God. Again, Isaiah chapter 37, going to start at verse 30, and start at verse 30 and go down from verse 30 and finish the chapter from verse 30 to verse 38. Isaiah chapter 37 from verse 30 to verse 38. Notice what it says. And this shall be a sign unto thee. Ye shall eat this year such as groweth of itself. In the second year, that which springeth of the same. And in the third year, sow ye and reap and plant vineyards and eat the fruit thereof. And the remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward. For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant. There it is, it's prophecy. And they that escape out of Mount Zion, the zeal of Yahweh of hosts shall do this. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come forth into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shields, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return. He shall not come into this city, saith Yahweh. For I will defend this city to save it for mine own sake, and for my servant David's sake. Then the angel of Yahweh went forth and smote the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. So Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt in Nineveh, at Nineveh. And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adramelech and Sherezer, his sons, smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia. And Esarhaddon, his son, reigned in his stead. So the king's own son, just like Isaiah was prophesied, the king's own son slew him. He never did come back to fight against Jerusalem. He talked too much mess. You see, it's the difference when the kings talk mess and when we're just being unfaithful. When Israel and Judah being unfaithful, then you get the Romans overrunning them. But when we're being faithful to the Most High and our enemies are just talking mess against us, we're not in trouble. Our enemies are in trouble. We have to believe that. We have to remember that. Because Yah will fight for us when we put our trust in him. He will fight for us. You got to remember that. Okay? All right. So let's have a word of prayer, and then we'll stop here. We'll start at chapter 38 by the grace of the Most High tomorrow. Chapter 38 by the grace of the